Hi, in this video we're going to work on modifying calendars and creating new ones using Project Plan 365. We're also going to focus on specifying calendars that influence resources in your project. First of all, what are calendars and why should they be looked at by project managers? Calendars determine the standard working time and non-working time such as weekends and holidays for a project. Calendars are used in Project Plan 365 to schedule your project and identify working time to determine when resources in your organization are likely available to work on tasks in your project. An important aspect in project planning is to add holidays as non-working days and time off periods. You should keep in mind that there are 4 types of calendars: base calendars, project calendars, resource calendars, and task calendars. Project Plan 365 supports 3 base calendars: standard calendar, 24-hour calendar, and night shift calendars. When setting up your project's calendar, you need to decide which base calendar you want to use as a starting point. If most of your tasks need to be completed during normal working hours, choose a standard base calendar. To accomplish this, we'll go to the project menu, click on project information, and here we can see that we're using the standard calendar. You can also check the type of base calendar that is used as a starting point for the project calendar by heading to the File Backstage menu and clicking on Options. From here, we can click on the Project Info tab. We can see that the project calendar is standard. The base calendar is applied to all resources as you add them. However, you can assign a different base calendar to a resource, or you can modify the individual's resource calendar. If you switch to the resource sheet view, where we've entered all the resources in our project, and look in the base calendar column, you'll notice that all the work resources have the standard base calendar. Another important piece of information related with the calendars which you should take into account are the calendar options. Now if we go to the File Backstage menu and click on Options, and we click the Schedule tab, you'll find here that there are some calendar settings such as default start time and default end time, hours per day and hours per week, as well as days per month. We'll leave them unchanged for now. Keeping track of non-working time is critical for making a project meet its deadline. If you don't want to have in your schedule a task that is supposed to take place on Christmas Day, you can add holidays, non-working time, to the project calendar. To model public holidays in our project, we'll modify the current project calendar to indicate the non-working days. And to do this, we'll again go to the project menu and click on Change Working Time. We'll use this quite often in this dialogue through this video to deal with these calendars. So first we're going to make sure in the drop-down list the standard calendar is selected. So you notice in this list the standard calendar is the project calendar since it's followed by project calendar after its name. You'll also notice that in the displayed calendar from the Change Working dialog, I can click any of the days in the right side and it will show me the working times for that particular day. Monday through Friday, according to the standard calendar, is a working day, and the working day is from 8 to 12. And then from 1 to 5. Saturdays and Sundays are non-working days, and the cells corresponding to the weekend have gray background, marking them as non-working days according to the legend shown on the left. Using the Exceptions tab, we can enter public holidays into our project. As you can see in our example, Christmas and New Year are here. They've been added as exceptions simply by clicking on the name box, entering a name, and then entering the corresponding dates. Exceptions can be deleted by highlighting the row and hitting the delete button. We'll click OK to close this dialog. Now that we've added the holidays in our project, notice that on the right side of the Gantt chart we can see some extra gray area. These gray vertical bars correspond to the non-working days. In Project Plan 365, tasks can happen only during working time. So you notice that the finish date for some of our tasks has changed. More exactly, the end date was pushed later, and some tasks will start later according to the new finish date of their predecessor. If you set up some non-working times, tasks will not be allowed to take place during those times. This shows how changes in the calendar affect the tasks in your project. We'll notice also that the finish date of our project has changed, and it now finishes on January 17th. Typically, calendars are assigned to resources so that the application can track when resources are available to work on tasks which they are assigned. Thus, we will specify the time off periods for some resources in our project by using the person's resource calendar. Let's suppose we want to indicate a time off period for a resource called General Management, which we have to attend a business meeting at the end of September. To indicate this, we'll first open the Change Working Time dialog. From there, we'll click on the Calendar drop-down, and we will look for the General Management. As we proceed for entering the holidays in our project, in the Exceptions tab, we're going to enter an exception for this calendar. Now again, this has been pre-populated in our example. These work similarly to entering holidays in a general calendar. They can be added and deleted as needed. So here we can see that the Congress takes place between the 27th and 29th of September. So this way, using the resource calendar, we specified 3 days of time off for the resource as exceptions for the individual resource. Now if we look in the calendar for September, we'll also see in this case the days within the time period being marked as non-working. Let's say in our project we have resources that are working on a part-time basis, so they have a working pattern that's different from everybody else. Careful attention should be given to the resources in your project that do not have full-time availability. This way, you can achieve better management of your resources and their availability based on this, and then better estimate the finish date of the project. So let's suppose that our resource called Drywall Contractor works part-time, meaning only 6 hours a day. To indicate this, we'll head to the project menu, click on Change Working Time to open the dialog box again. To model this specific working pattern, we're going to create a custom calendar to specify the exact number of hours in a day the part-time resource can dedicate to the project. Rather than modifying the existing calendar, we'll create a new one. This is especially useful if you have more than one resource in your project working on a part-time basis. We can do this by creating a new calendar. From here, we're going to create a new base calendar. We're going to call this part-time. You'll notice now that in the top of this list, I have a new calendar called part-time. And it's time to modify the working pattern for this calendar. So for this, I'm going to use the Work Weeks tab. We'll click on the default entry and hit Details. As you can see, using this dialog, I'm able to change the working pattern for every single day of the week. We'll select Monday on the left side here. And we'll choose Set Day to these specific working times. And we'll leave the first row unchanged here. Instead of 5 p.m. ending, we'll change it to 3 p.m. Leading to a 6-hour workday on Mondays with a 1-hour lunch break. We can proceed in the same manner for the rest of the week. And then hit OK. Now that we've finished setting our custom calendar, let's assign it to our part-time resource called Drywall Contractor. To achieve this in the resource sheet view, we'll find Drywall Contractor, and we are going to change the base calendar to the part-time calendar we've just created. And you see here I have another one that is one that I had created earlier, but this part-time calendar is the one we just created. By default, tasks are scheduled based on the project calendar. And to define unique or specific exceptions for working time and non-working time, create a task calendar. As it was the case with resources, tasks can have their own calendar. A task calendar that is associated with a task overrides the project calendar. Well, first, we need to create a custom calendar that we're going to assign for a particular task. And we do that from our Change Working Time button and creating a new calendar. Now I've already taken the liberty of creating one here called End of the Week. So we'll go ahead and select this to show you what that looks like. And as you can see, this calendar indicates working days only on Fridays. Now to assign a calendar to a task, we're going to press on the task information button here for a particular task. For this, we'll select this one and check task information, and then under the advanced tab here we'll see its calendar. You can see we can select the end of the week calendar, which will apply that work will only occur on Fridays. And once we've done this, we notice that the task is moved to take place on Fridays. And also, if we look at the indicators column, we notice a specific icon that marks this task has an associated calendar. And if we hover over it, we can see which calendar is associated with. This concludes our video covering calendars in Housatonics Project Plan 365. Thanks for watching.